Sí, hola. Vale. Sí. Vale. Sí, 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 cap problema. No crec que... Good, okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming here. So, might notice there's no title slide. That's because I prefer to begin directly with the problem that we wish to solve at WIRIS, and that is what you see here. So, if any of you are math teachers or involved in the math or science departments in some way, then hopefully this image speaks to you. Can we do a show of hands if anybody actually is involved in math or science in their institution? Okay, we got some. So yeah, this is what we are trying to solve. The problem of being able to have STEM content in Moodle, as represented by this image, which is something that is traditionally difficult, and well, this is we propose a set of solutions to be able to solve that. So, I lied, there is a title slide. This is who we are, WIRIS. My name is Gaspar. Thank you all for coming here. We are going to talk about math type and WIRIS quizzes, our two tools for having STEM content in Moodle. So, math type solves one of the major issues, which is that people need to write things. So I don't know if you've ever imagined what Moodle would be like without content. That would be pretty strange. You wouldn't really do anything. Well, I guess you could do it. You could serve as some sort of organizer or something, but you probably want to write things. If you're a history teacher, then you'll want to write text, figures, etc. And if you're a math teacher, you want to write formulas. Math or science or anything that uses formulas, as soon as you run into the problem of writing a formula, then you're going to run into an issue with Moodle. Because while it does have a formula editor, which does function, it does write formulas. So actually, speaking of that formula editor here, we have two very real graphs about, based on good data that we collected for real, about comparing the usability curve of the default equation editor versus math type. So as you can see, as time goes forward, it's very difficult to make progress. You can get there because, as you can see, they both reach the same point. You can get there, but most teachers will get here and be like, oh, this is just, I'm just going to switch to paper because it's not worth it. And math type, on the other hand, right from the beginning, it's very simple to use. Like I said, this is a scientific study that we did. That's math type. Here we can actually see it in action. So it's a simple toolbar to use. You click on the buttons, you get the symbols. Or if you're on a touch device, then you can handwrite the formula that gets recognized and turned into a typeset mathematical equation as if you had written it with the toolbar. The toolbar works for primary, secondary, higher ed, or anything you want because it's customizable. The handwriting interface, well, that's just a little close-up of it. You write the formula, and it recognizes it. There's not much else to say there, except that this is obviously useful for all the students who are using Moodle on their mobile devices maybe, or tablets, so on and so forth. Or if your laptop happens to be a touchscreen, then, well, toolbars in general are not very usable on touchscreens, so this solves the problem of being able to write formulas on a touchscreen. And actually have them be recognized, because of course you can always just scribble one, but then that won't be accessible, it won't be, not good. So that's math type. Math type's little sibling is chem type, who solves the same issue, but for chemistry. So if you happen to be in the field of chemistry, then you have a similar tool, but so everything that math type does except for chemical reactions and so on and so forth, you can use that to write chemical things. The next thing, so after being able to write things, people need to ask things. I mean, well, this is like true as a philosophical sort of thing. That's not what I'm getting at here. WIRIS is not a tool for resolving existential conundrums. But the more specific interpretation that I want from this is that, teachers need to create assessments in Moodle, and those need to be able to be graded, hopefully. I mean, if you grade them manually, that's fine. Math type can help you solve that problem because your students can write formulas and you can grade them manually. That's a step above sticking with paper. However, our tool WIRIS Quizzes actually allows you to grade things automatically. So here, you'll probably recognize this as a Moodle question, but you'll see instead of a regular old text box, you have math type there, so that the student who's answering it can write a formula or handwrite it by just clicking on that little icon and handwriting the formula. And that allows you, and that expression is actually mathematically interpreted and graded automatically if you so wish. So then, this is a little example of what this helps solve. So say that the answer to your question is x plus 2, and the student happens to write 2 plus x. If it's just a regular text-based system, then that's not going to work because it can only recognize x plus 2. It doesn't know that 2 plus x is the same thing as someone that grades manually does. WIRIS Quizzes does know that, and it counts 2 plus x as correct when the teacher happened to write x plus 2, or vice versa, or maybe the student writes 1 plus x, or maybe the answer is sine of 2x, and if you're familiar with the sine of the double angle formula, then you know that it's 2 sine times cosine of x. Then it'll also recognize it as correct. And a fun little challenge, if anybody wants, is to come to our stand and think of one expression and then the most convoluted possible way of writing the same exact thing and see if WIRIS Quizzes recognizes it. It's fun. $20 says it does. Not really, but it's fun. And then after that, you will probably want to ask more things of the students. So if the answer to the question is 1/2, but they arrive at it through a long series of procedures, and they arrive at the answer 5/10, well, in general, we want students to simplify fractions. Not just fractions, polynomials, other types of expressions. Here are the examples of fraction. WIRIS Quizzes does know that 5/10 is equal to 1/2, but it's not simplified, so that you can grade it accordingly. You say, okay, you got the right answer, but it's not simplified, so we're going to give you such and such grade. It's up to you. that is, well, along with being simplified, there's a whole another range of criteria that you can ask for, factorized, whether it's a fraction, whether it's an integer, lots of different properties that you can ask for the answer to have. That's the second feature that we like to talk about with WIRIS quizzes. The third, but not least, is randomized questions. So if you have a bunch of students in a room and they're all taking the same test, they can have the same question but with different data for that question. So that if the question was, for example, factorize the polynomial p, well, one student will see x squared minus 3, another student will see negative 4x cubed plus 9, and that can be different for all the students in the room if you just, well, you can set this, any part of the question really, to be random, and that allows you to solve, for example, the problem of students looking at the other student's screen. Not just that, they can also, if you're doing something for learning, then, well, we're all doing things for learning. Rather training the same type of question, then you can tell the student they can repeat the question as many times as they want, and it'll always have different data. You can customize that as much as you want to train that specific type of question. So, so that's basically all that we have to say about our tools for now. We do have a more specific presentation on WIRIS quizzes tomorrow at 12 at noon, I believe. And that we'll get into much more detail, do an example of a question and so on and so forth, because quizzes has so much more to explore. So we're doing another presentation on that. And of course, you can always come by our stand if you have any specific questions or things that you'd like to know about. If you are already familiar and you want to know about new features that we have, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'll leave it. And now we can go to questions. Yes? Yes, you can. You can say the correct answer to this is anything between -10 and 99. Well, not just those two numbers, also other numbers. Anything else? All right. I think we're very good on time. That was probably shorter than expected, but all right, good. Thank you very much. I'll see you around. Oh, yeah.
Okay, no problem. Is it working fine? Right? Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Alina. I'm head of business development at UniCheck, which is plagiarism detection software. First, I'd like to ask who's speaking English. Can you please raise your hands? And Spanish speakers? Okay, got it. Well, in any case, I'm pleased to introduce Julia. She's my colleague. She's in charge of Latin America and Spanish-speaking overall market, and Spanish specifically. So we're going to presentation. It would be very quickly, but I hope you like it. It's very interactive. So main reason why we have the presentation today and the topic specifically is like the cheating, contract plagiarism, and the things that can trick plagiarism checkers. So just in case, who knows what is plagiarism checker? Everyone? Mostly, okay, that's better than nothing. So yeah, so we have like different plagiarism checkers on the market, right, and different LMS systems. And of course, every student knows, nowadays, every student knows that there is some plagiarism checker inside the LMS system, right? So sometimes, unfortunately, when student wants to submit a paper and get a good grade, and he needs to trick system, right? So he can, buy the essay right now online. There are tons of companies, unfortunately. And the other thing, which is pretty easier and cost efficient, is trick with the text in your paperwork. So we have two sessions. The first one is today about the modifying. It's our technology, UniCheck technology, to detect such trickings. And the other one is going to be tomorrow at 11:30. It's about Emma, our authorship verification technology. So I would like also to Julia to introduce herself and tell more about what she's doing and tell like briefly in Spanish what are you going to.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Aquí somos también no solamente los equipos de UniCheck de representantes de ventas, representantes del desarrollo. Aquí tenemos cubierto también el sector para nuestros clientes, para las universidades de España, instituciones educativas que nosotros soportamos. Y también aquí, bueno, estamos mostrando que la integración de Moodle de UniCheck es bastante estable, tiene 4 años de desarrollo y también muchos clientes que ya tienen las historias grandes de éxitos con UniCheck, y hoy día también estamos entusiasmados a dar nuestra ponencia y presentar las modificaciones textuales y los últimos avances de la herramienta antiplagio UniCheck. Por favor, atención a la charla de Elena. Gracias.
Thank you so much. Okay, guys, so you know that the main problem is not that the student cheat. I mean, student cheats every time, unfortunately, when they want to, again, get a good grade but not doing something. But the main problem is actually that we face that people, like educators, instructors, teachers, they don't know about modifications of text. They can skip these tricks and they just don't know it actually exists. So today's session is more about what is modification in text and actually how to spot it. So please meet our our squad of cheers. It's a very bad word to say, but in this case, it's okay. So we have a copy paster, we have character replacer, we have microspacer, and a cheat man. So let's talk about everyone. So please meet, that's copy paster. Julia, please translate.
Aquí tenemos como una serie de caracteres que tienen que ver con las modificaciones más populares textuales, que, bueno, a veces los estudiantes someten a estos hechos de hacer copias, hacer plagio, y ahora, bueno, entra nuestro primer héroe, es el copio espaciador, que, bueno, una persona que a veces hace algunos intentos de hacer espacios y hacer las copias en un contenido.
Yeah, and the copy paster, in my case, his guy is actually what he's doing is taking a text from some repository, from his friend, from his brother, his mother, wherever. He's taking the text and he makes it as a picture and submit a picture to the submission, to the assignment. And the actual story, the real story, it was like recently, a couple of months ago. The one of the teacher. He said like, hey, UniCheck is working not properly. There is some technical issues because I submitted the paper to Moodle and it says that it contains less than 8 words. And it's like but there are like about 12 pages in there. And like, can you please send this work to us? Come on. It was all in pictures, so of course it contained no words. So of course it's less than 8. Like for our system, it should be at least 8 words in a paper. So, okay, let's move on. Here we have like character replacer and we have microspacer. So the character replacer, it's a very tricky guy. He's replacing characters from different alphabets. For instance, from Spanish, A's, O's, I's into the English text. And for all of us, for human beings, the text looks pretty okay because it's just a simple text. But for machines sees different encodings in every letter. So for machines, it's garbage text. It cannot read the text. So just for you to know, that's another very, very, very popular cheating attempt. Julia, please translate.
Tenemos como el segundo héroe es el microespaciador, en comillas. Es una persona, un estudiante, quien solamente hace una modificación textual por medio de sacar los caracteres del otro idioma, si cambia su teclado a otro idioma y saca las mismas letras, las pega en su texto, lo presenta como si fuera un buen trabajo, un trabajo original, pero de verdad UniCheck lo que va a hacer es resaltar estos caracteres como ajenos a este texto, y luego también con UniCheck los profesores van a ver que no pertenecen a este texto, que son los caracteres sacados de otro idioma y hay algo oculto aquí.
Thank you. Gracias. Well, the microspacer. This guy is very, very hard to spot unless you have the UniCheck, of course. So the microspacer, what he does. So for instance, you have a word that contains 6-7 characters, just a simple word like hello or whatever. And as a human being, we see that as a word. It's just a word, right? But for machine, the microspacer, he made to see it as 5 or 6 different words, and most probably original words, because they just separate every letter with a lot of spaces, and they do it micro. So for our eyes, it's pretty, it's just a regular word. But for machines, it's 6 different words, which are really original one.
Bueno, este es el chaval también bastante tramposo, que es el microespaciador. Es lo que hace él, pues para nosotros, para los profes, es un texto normal, una entrega normal, original, pero lo que hace para modificar el contenido, para que solamente se visualice de otra manera, es separar todas las palabras con los espacios, y a veces pues podemos no tomar en cuenta, pero para la máquina, la herramienta UniCheck lo va a resaltar. Y bueno, en los módulos adicionales de UniCheck, como el módulo Modified, lo va a visualizar y mostrar que de verdad hay algo oculto aquí. También eso es el texto, el archivo modificado. Por favor.
Thank you. And we have the last one. It's the cheat man, and we're going to talk about this guy tomorrow on the tomorrow presentation, because again, unfortunately, when students they want to use some shortcuts, they just order the papers online, they place all of the assignment details, etc., and they get this paperwork like within a couple of days, and it's fully original because it's written by other people. But at UniCheck, the most important about the UniCheck that we want just we not want to punish students. We don't want to waste your time, the time of educators when you're evaluating paper, but the paper it's not worth to evaluate it. So you should work with students. You want to make students successful, right? And it's actually our aim as well. So with those tools, like cheater is a very bad word. So we just want to help students who face some issues, who go into some problems right now. And we want to help it by getting the time, bless you, getting the time of, like getting your time to free your time to work with the specific student. So when you see the attention tab, the warning in a Moodle or in any other LMS that you use, you better go and start like working with the specific student and understand what is his issue.
Unas cuantas palabras pues, sobre este último tipo de los que son de los más perezosos porque solamente no lo hacen nada con sus propias manos, solamente contratan, adquieren algún trabajo por internet o bueno, lo pagan algún servicio y lo hacen todo original, su trabajo fin de curso, fin de grado, y de verdad no podemos saber si este trabajo de verdad pertenece a este alumno, quien lo entregó. Y mañana también vamos a dar una ponencia sobre cómo detectamos el estilo propio de un estudiante. Y este módulo total, lo que lanzamos, lo que ahora liberamos para todos nuestros clientes, y está disponible en el informe de UniCheck, el informe en línea, solo tiene bajo todo el desarrollo está un único objetivo de poder dar una indicación al profesor que puede, tal vez haya algo oculto, haya algo, bueno, alguna cosa inconsciente o hecha con una intención en el trabajo de estudiante, y hay que tomar en cuenta no solamente el contenido propio que los estudiantes hacen, sino que también el formateo y bueno, el interfaz en lo que presenten sus trabajos y sus entregas.
Thank you. That's the end of the presentation. We just want to mention that we already help a lot of people all over the world. We have a lot of customers, and hi, our dear customers in Spain and of course in the United States, in different countries, and we really aim to succeed. We want to increase academic integrity all over the world. We do run a lot of social projects for the institutions who do not have some like money fundings. So at UniCheck you will find people, and I hope you really enjoy using UniCheck and our all new features. Thank you so much. In case you have any questions, feel free to ask.
¿En español puede ser?
Claro, claro.
No te voy a pedir que encuentres el truco, pero ¿qué tipo de algoritmos o más o menos cómo utilizan para poder detectar el estilo del estudiante?
Bueno, ese es el algoritmo de la inteligencia artificial. Esta sesión, la ponencia, la trataremos mañana, y es el desarrollo propio de UniCheck, que es el módulo que se llama Emma, y en su base tiene el algoritmo impulsado por la inteligencia artificial, y de esta manera como se autoeduca, y luego si obtiene unas entregas, podremos construir un perfil de este alumno, y es el perfil único de escritura de cada alumno, y lo podemos construir solamente a la base de experiencia que ya hemos obtenido. De nada.
Repeat it in English.
Like what is the algorithm of our new module Emma?
Oh yeah, like tomorrow we're going to discuss more more in details, but yeah, Emma, it's artificial intelligence that just read student papers, and it's checking and it's looking for specific formatting, punctuation, specific style, writing style of the student, actually of the person, and then on the next future submission of the student, she just on what she learned previously, she analyzed it and tells whether every next paper is actually submitted by this person or not. So pretty nice. I mean, we're not that technical person, so you will not hear anything very, very technical details, but in any case. Any other questions? Yeah.
I don't know if you got special that are done for loose, but how would you compare yourself to get the largest players in the market?
Well, we're awesome. Well, actually, like there are a lot of differences between us and Turnitin, and a lot of Turnitin, and of course a lot of things. As for the support and the uptime period, we do provide with the uptime, which is 99.9%. So it gives you about less than 9 hours of downtime a year, and it's usually scheduled maintenance. So we always like prepare our customers that okay, on Saturday or Sunday in a very, very, very inactive time, there will be the downtime. That's one of the things. The another thing, again, we're people, so we work, we have like a customer support team, which is 24/7 and it's SLA based. So when you contact the support team in a chat, on a phone or email contact us form, you receive the answer very quickly. So it's about, like for the email, it's within an hour. For the chat, phone, it's immediate answer. Also, we have like the customer success manager team, so that the girls, they're actually in charge of every customer account. So they help you with migration program when you're migrating from one solution to another. They help with onboarding training sessions. So we take all of the headache of the administration, like on our side, and we run all the trainings, prepare materials that can be distributed within the institution. And technology-wise, I would like to invite you to our booth because I can just talk and talk a lot, and I would like to share more information about us, but not that we have like the next session, by the way, Turnitin session, I think. Oh, we still have 5 minutes, great. Great, so technology-wise, we provide with the online web search. What does it mean? So when we do search with the internet, we do it in the real time. So in the real time, you will get all of the similarity sources, like in the report, of course. You're familiar about the plagiarism report, right? So you have the tons of sources there. And every link in the source is actually a verified link. So you can use first side-by-side comparison. So you have the paperwork of the student and you have the actual text from the source. So it's very easy for teachers, and actually it's time efficient for teachers to evaluate paper easily. Then with every, there would be no 404 sources, so there will be all verified. So it's actual proof, and you can have this paper, you can generate PDF report and go to the student and ask him to revise the paper because, again, there is the fact, please revise. Also, we respect the privacy and security policies of all of our customers. So by default, we do not cross-check your libraries. So every library of our customer is your private database. However, if you want to check and cross-check your library and other customers' libraries, we can enable this option, but only after your written confirmation. And yeah, we do not share any details of our customers without confirmation with others. And specifically, never students' data, etc., etc. And of course, the text modification, modifying technology, I'd like to show it in action again near the booth. So you can see what is hidden in the text. So you can actually see what's hidden from you, right? So, and more things. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
UniCode, which is huge, and you can always find similar chapters in the large data set.
Well, usually when they work with the papers, they submit it in not in the specific formats, in the Word and the PDF, etc. And the letters, the alphabets in the in those editors, every alphabet, every letter has its encoding, and for every alphabet it's different. So that's why when the machine sees the word, but different letters have different encoding types, I would say, it's just breaking the machine, and does not understand the text. So
that is even another source of cheating.
Well, at some point of time, yeah.
One of my letters, is similar to some strange
Other.
alphabet, and I think the letter from that. Looks like.
Well,
It also breaks
the old system. But at UniCheck, we make it as you mentioned, as a Unicode, so make it unique one language, which specifically applies to this paperwork. And moreover, like we show you that there is character replacement. Moreover, we find similarity with this part of the text. So in case it was used somewhere, we will show you the source, the specific source.
Queremos dar gracias, aprovechando esta oportunidad a todos los clientes que están de momento en este evento de MoodleMoot, a los representantes de la Universidad de Zaragoza que están aquí, a los de la Universidad de Málaga y otros clientes que también pasaron por nuestro stand ahora. Y bueno, gracias a todos por escuchar y por sus preguntas.
Thank you so much. I hope you like it.
Muchas gracias.
Okay. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Hi everybody, good afternoon, and welcome to today's Gradescope session. First of all, introductions. So my name's Mark Harner, and I lead on partnerships for Turnitin in the EMEA region, and a couple of partnerships elsewhere around the world as well. And I've got my colleague with me here, Aaron Yaversky. He's our VP of Partnerships based in North America, and he heads up partnerships globally. So today we're going to be talking about our grading platform, Gradescope, which is for the assessment of written work, and especially in STEM-related courses. So it is the leading assessment and feedback platform that modernizes the grading process and transforms grading into learning. So what we actually try and do with this service is to streamline the grading process, and it's to address high demand assessment submissions, written assessment submissions in STEM-related modules specifically, but it can be used in other assessment types, which we can get onto in a second. So first of all, I just want to highlight that providing quality feedback can be a challenge, and especially when you're dealing with a high volume of papers and when it's actually written assessment as well. But if you take, for example, a math course or computer science course, it's not standard text that's submitted. It can be formula, numbers, etc. And the challenge that we're trying to address is how can you grade a large volume of papers in a reduced amount of time. So these are just some of the quotes and challenges that can be faced. So just to give a little bit of background on Gradescope, it actually was born out of UC Berkeley, and there were a group of teaching assistants on a computer science course who had the pressure of marking hundreds and hundreds of students' written assessments, and they thought there must be an easier way to resolve this issue, and also provide the quality of feedback that the students were expecting. So they created this prototype, which using AI would look at the answers that were given and look to bucket and organize the way that questions were answered into certain areas so that they could apply certain marks to a particular answer. So effectively, if question 1 had a specific answer and 100 students had answered in that way, they could apply a mark for that answer, and it would mark all of the students' work who had answered it in that way. So it became so successful, and so many instructors across the faculty adopted it, that the service Gradescope was born. That was back in 2014. And then last year in 2018, Turnitin actually acquired the service, as we felt it was a good fit under our umbrella of academic integrity. And one of the goals that Gradescope addresses is the consistency of grading as well, and grader coordination. So as you can see there, and we want to pinpoint knowledge gaps with Gradescope as well, so highlight where there could be gaps in learning, or where problem questions, where questions need to be written better or understood better by the students in the class. Increasing data security, so because everything is electronic, scanned in and electronic, you don't have all the huge mountains of papers that you have to mark, and also as well, it's secure, so students can't try and come back at a later date and get access to the content. And also as well, we integrate with existing systems. So Moodle is one of those, from what I understand, but there's also an integration for D2L and Canvas, etc. This is the timeline, which was what I've just talked through. So probably a bit premature in what I was saying. So yeah, it was acquired by Turnitin, and what we're looking to do now is really incorporate it into the other services. So Turnitin, having the originality check products of SimCheck and Similarity Check, as well as Feedback Studio, we're looking to incorporate the system as part of that. Aaron, do you want to?
Right, so Mark was talking about the why. So what's the challenge that you have, especially in these big intro STEM courses? Lots of paper assignments that need to be graded, lots of problems, many TAs in grading those papers, right? So what are we trying to solve there is, how do you quickly do that in an efficient way? And how, as you start grading papers, what's a challenge you have as a TA or grading? If I'm grading a paper assignment, and I start to grade question 1 a certain way, but throughout the course of grading, I decide that I wanted to grade it differently. The way Gradescope will work with that is automatically, if you change what you wanted to change for a grade, change the grading mechanism for each one of those problems throughout the entire exam. So go ahead. Right, so what is it really focused on? Handwritten diagrams, programming projects, exams, and short answers, right? So it is paper-based problems that we're talking about, scanned into the system. So if you think about a lot of these courses, many of the exams are still done in handwritten format. How do you then efficiently grade all of those different things? What the software will look for initially are putting together all of the questions that are the same, so that one can grade question 6 across the entire organization. But it will also look for what is known to be the correct answer and automatically grade those, and then put other answers that look similar together, and that's the AI function. But then it also gives the user an opportunity to go through and group those answers together that he or she wants to group together, right? So again, it's the efficiency of grading, but it's also so that if I'm a TA and Mark's a TA and Mag's a TA, we are all looking at the same thing the same way, so that you have consistency in how students' papers are graded, again, particularly in large STEM courses, where you might have several TAs or several instructors grading papers for the same class, right? So this is what we're talking about in reducing grading time. It's taking all of those answers and grouping them together in the way that needs to be. The system does that first, but you then have the opportunity to group it the way you want. You can go a little faster than I wanted. So you group those answers the way you want, assign grades that you want to those. Every answer that's like that gets assigned that grade over time. Again, the important thing about this function here is if I go back later on and decide that that question shouldn't answer that way, shouldn't be reduced by 2 points, but 1 point, I can go change that back to 1 point later on. Everything that I've previously graded gets the score change for that. Same thing, it's not just what I've graded, it's what Mark's graded as well, right? So that's part of the reducing grading time so that we can only focus on the questions that are wrong and decide what we want to do with those. So in essence, you as the grader are creating your own rubric as you go, and it goes that way. So the system's not necessarily doing it for you, right? So you still have the art of being the instructor and the grader to put that together, right? And again, here's how I can put the coordination together of what we're doing. I can start to answer why I've taken a point away so that I and the other graders understand why I've changed that rubric, right? And I can assign those changes as I go through. So again, ease and speed of what I'm trying to put together there. And the last is the pinpoint of knowledge gaps, which Mark talked about before. And we think about this in two ways, right? One is, so I as the instructor can later understand everyone in this course got question 9 wrong. I know how to go back later on and focus on point 9. More so as well, if I want to, I can look and see how I graded a paper versus how Mark graded a paper, so I can get consistency in how my graders are actually grading what they do, right? So that pinpoint becomes very important for a lot of different things you want to do as an instructor. And the last is, as Mark said, it's increasing data security. So I got 1,000 papers turned in at the University of Toronto. Right now, what do? I hand them out to several different TAs. They put them in their backpack. They take them home. What do you work in Gradescope? You take it to your scanner. You scan it into the system, right? You can then take all those papers, put them in your lockbox safely away in your office. Now all your TAs have access to this within the Gradescope application on their computer that can be accessed anywhere. So as Mark said, we don't have to worry about papers being lost, stolen, nicked away so that I can copy it for the next exam I do. So it's very, very important as well, and something that a lot of our professors have asked for. Right? And again, last is integration with all the existing systems. So Gradescope is not looking to be its own solution, but a point solution within the Moodle environment or any other environment so that instructors in these courses have an easier way to grade paper-based exams. And that's Gradescope in our 15 minutes or less. Yeah. So with that, out there, ask some questions. Yes?
So why did you target it just for STEM? Why couldn't I use this with humanity?
But that's where the idea came from initially, because it was on that type of course, and it was focusing on those technical type of answers that were handwritten, and using the AI to look at those and sort those out. But it's not to say that it can't be used outside of that. That's what we're beginning to learn, and that's what we're open to see how it can be used in other assessment types.
We're currently getting great evaluated, and I feel like if I limit it to this STEM, I can't justify it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fair.
Thinking,
yeah.
About,
yeah.
I could take an exam, and at least the paper exam, with 100 students, they can basically scan it in and parse out the questions, makes it easier to hand out.
Well, that's it, and that's what it does as well. So, like, if we use it, that's the other way it can be utilized, is that it can intelligently look at breaking up the questions, not necessarily what the answers are. It knows when question 1 starts and ends, and then it will put into one area, one group, question 1. Group 2 will be question 2, etc., and so on. So then the rubric can be applied just as it can be to a group of answers. Yeah.
Yes, what I can say, the product team is looking at that and debating it, just that we know right now it works effectively in STEM, we're trying to come through with humanities and other written pieces of work, how in fact it works well. But for a question,
Yeah.
yes.
You said that copies need to be scanned. You provide consumers with special scanners. So what conditions do questionnaires need to meet to, not to be rejected now? And how many, from experience, how many percent copies might be rejected on average? Because of, bad handwriting or whatever.
Yeah, for two questions. So first of all, no, we don't provide scanners. Works with any scanner that's on your system. So your Ricoh, your Xerox, whatever it is, as long as it can email the document into Gradescope, you're fine. So you can use whatever scanner you want to use. So yes, it's hardware agnostic from that perspective. I don't know the exact percent of questions that don't get captured. That's a great one for us to look at. That is why, though, when you saw that diagram where certain questions automatically get bucketed where I know it's the right answer, and then there's the remainders, those are the ones that the system hasn't read correctly. We'll have to come back to you with how many questions get there, because you're right. Some of it's just going to be messy handwriting. Some of it's just going to be, this answer is so far out of the realm of everything else I got, I don't know what to do with it as a system. But that's a great question.
With a large cohort of students, we sometimes realize we spend much more time for a very small percentage of students for English learning than administrative stuff, whatever. So I guess there might be some success stories or do's and don'ts.
Right.
To avoid this small percentage, we spend the night on find a copy to etc.
Right. So grab me after, or get your information, and we'll follow up with a specific answer there.
Great.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes. Oh, go. Or you had 5 questions. I thought you had. Yes.
Can you tell us about the integration with Moodle, like the LTI, and how does it work?
To be honest, I'm not the best person to ask about that, just because I'm not that close to it. From what I understand, it's integrated through LTI currently. Yeah. I haven't specifically seen it in action, but I thought it was LTI. Yeah.
So we have a contract for Gradescope already.
Okay.
So we don't have that.
Okay. Well, again,
that's where I'm trying to figure out how you have it.
Okay. Well, I'll get you details at the end, and then we can, connect you with the team, and they can give you more information on that.
Anyone else? Well, wonderful. You get 5 minutes back in your life. Efficiency. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is fine. Oh. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. My name's Jonathan Moore. I'm the co-founder of My Learning Consultants. And the session today, we're going to talk a little bit about our journey of shopping for hosting for Moodle, and then how that led us to develop a platform that is a little bit different twist on what I think other people are doing out there. So we probably all know what hosting is, right? Server, storage, computing, deliver an application. In the Moodle world, the open source world, we've got kind of two modalities of how that hosting is delivered. We've got the self-hosted, or maybe the unmanaged hosting, where the organization's responsibility to run that application. And then on the other side of that spectrum, we have SaaS hosting, where it's a service, it's kind of a sealed black box, and it hopefully just works. But if it doesn't work the way you want, too bad. So what we're trying to do with the tools that we built is to get the strengths of both of those options. So have the flexibility and the power and the access and ownership of self-hosting, but with the engineered design, scalability, security, backups that you have with the SaaS offering. So just a little background of the history there. We're on 16 years now with Moodle. So we actually started working with Moodle before the 1.0 release. My wife and I, who's the other co-founder at the company, we were the first two employees at one of the first Moodle partners. We did that for 8 or 9 years. And then in 2014, we started our own company, My Learning Consultants, and with a focus on consulting rather than hosting, service delivery, those sorts of things. So we've kind of had all sorts of roles. When we got into Moodle, we were self-hosting. So we've done the self-hosting. We've been the platform vendor provider. We've been the consultant helping clients to try to implement whatever their vision is for their education. And so what we found was that in order to do the things that we wanted to do, which is stand on top of Moodle, kind of bend it to our will, that we couldn't find a hosting solution that would do those things for us. And so just a note on our process, how did we have those needs where we wanted a lot of flexibility? We would start with clients and we would say, well, what are your goals? What kind of money do you want to spend? What's the budget for this project? And then we would bring in the knowledge of what are the best practices, the technical practices and also the pedagogical practices. And then the mission was, let's make a plan that's tailor-fit for this situation. So here's my list. When we were shopping, this is what we were looking for. We wanted it to be Moodle specific, high quality, engineered around that. So not something that was generically written and maybe we get started, but then it doesn't work so well later. We wanted workflows that were specific to Moodle. So things like, what's a best practice for upgrading, right? Is make a copy of the production site and then upgrade that copy. Test it. If that works, schedule the next. So things to support those common workflows. We needed flexibility. So we needed to be able to leverage the power of, I think it's 1,600 contributed plugins now. We wanted to be able to install any of those, no questions asked, and we wanted to do it on our time frame. And if we found that the plugins that were out there and the core functionality didn't cover it, we needed to be able to install plugins that we wrote, and in more extreme cases, maybe change core a little bit. So, and that's where we really ran into issues, right? Is there's plenty of offerings of really high quality SaaS type hosting that's Moodle specific, but it's harder to find that plus, yes, you can do all of these other things. We also didn't want to be locked into a particular vendor. So we wanted to be able to move that around, again, have flexibility, put it on a different platform if we wanted to, change the environment. And we also wanted to be able to actually directly get into the infrastructure. And This is about flexibility again. And also we wanted to have the ability, if there was a problem for our client, to be able to get in there and have some control over the time that it would take to resolve it. But it could also be something like as simple as, well, we want to generate data. We want to pull particular data from the infrastructure. So these are all issues that we fought trying, various offerings out in the market. And really, it's the necessity is the mother of invention, is where we're at, is we really just wanted to do our thing with our consulting, custom development, advice, but so that led us to build a set of tools that kind of cover all these things. So what our unhosting tool does is we currently deploy to Amazon Web Services, but it's really agnostic to the cloud. So the idea is we'll add Azure and Google Clouds down the road. So it'll deploy Moodle-ready infrastructure. It'll create Moodle sites from the official repository. It'll keep them up to date. It will install plugins and keep those up to date and make sure the right ones are getting installed. It'll automatically take care of those updates, geographically disperse backups, and history of monitoring the server. So what kind of growth projections, or looking back if there's an issue report, being able to see we had a spike in some type of usage or some particular bottleneck, and be able to map that up with what happened at the time. So again, we wanted it to be really Moodle specific, so it needs to scale around the way that Moodle scales. And we wanted it automated. So we didn't want to spend a lot. What I was finding is I was installing these servers by hand over and over for clients. And it was really around, well, we have to do this in order for them to have the flexibility to meet their goals. So that's not very efficient. We wanted to make it more efficient. And again, those common workflows that I talked about. So we built that to make ourselves happy, and we hope some other people like it as well. And because of how we built that out, what we wanted to be able to do is say, we're very good at this particular piece of it, but we don't have to, it's not an all or nothing proposition. So maybe you know a lot about Moodle already. Maybe you know how to run it very well, but maybe you don't have the time and the resources to engineer a really scalable infrastructure to go along with it. So we've kind of decomposed all the pieces that go along with traditional hosting, and with leveraging the power of Moodle in mind. So can we use all of those community plugins? Can we have our own flavor of it if we want, et cetera? And we wanted to be able to really control the timing of those too. So that's another factor, is are we being forced to take an upgrade before we're ready to take an upgrade? Or the flip side is, I want to see how this plugin works now. Do I have to wait for someone else to do that? Or can I go into the system and it's on my time frame? And so I guess to put it another way, we wanted to write some tools that are very respectful of the idea behind Moodle, that it's an open system. So we wanted to be able to deploy infrastructure that models that and leverages that, and that empowers users. So, and I don't know if I mentioned this. So the idea is you can bring in your own cloud account. You connect it to our set of tools. It will deploy that infrastructure. It'll do the sites. Or we can also wrap it up like a traditional hosting where it's on our cloud account. Maybe you never log into the control panel, or maybe it's in the middle. It's on our cloud services, and you don't want to have to worry about what's the bill going to be every month. But you want to have that flexibility of, I want to pick when I go and install plugins, and I want to dictate when I can have a staging site that's copied off of my production, or I want to try out this new plugin. Okay. So I think that leaves us 5 minutes for questions. Did I get that right? A couple minutes? 8 minutes. Wow, I was really efficient. Questions? Yes?
When you say your code
Yeah.
and you do customization,
Yes.
do you provide a repository?
We do. Yeah. So
Together with the hosting?
yeah. So one of the features that we've built into our control panel is by default, it would install from the Moodle public repository. But you can go in there and say, actually, I don't want to use that one. I have my own code repository. It can be a public one or a private one. If it's a private one, you put in your key, and then it will connect to that, and you specify which branch you want to deploy, and then it will track to that branch. So whatever development workflows you have, if you push a new bit of code to that branch, the next scheduled upgrade cycle, it's going to do a get pull. It's going to run the Moodle upgrade from the command line, and it's going to clear your caches so you have a clean environment that's ready for you to try out that new code. That make sense? Yeah. And I'm happy to like actually show the UI to you at the booth and how all of that works. Other questions?
Do you have customers in the US only or also in Europe?
All over. One of the beauties of the way that we do our deployments, every client is in their own cloud account, whether it's on one of our cloud accounts or whether it's on your account, and that infrastructure that you deploy is dedicated to you. So that makes it very easy for us to say, what region do you want to deploy to? So I have, for instance, I have one client who they have a physical presence here in Europe. They have a physical presence in the US, and they have a physical presence in Australia, and we have infrastructure deployed in each of those continents. Yes?
Direct question to that. So what do you use for database service or web service, if you want to tell that?
No, I'm happy to answer any of that. So what we use on Amazon Web Services is RDS, which is a reliable database, short for reliable database service. And so we felt like they did a pretty good job of service delivery for that. So rather than just rolling our own virtual machine for that, we'll deploy RDS. So for instance, it's very good with, it automatically has backups. It's a checkbox if you want to have a master-slave relationship and if you want to have it in a different region for high availability. So it does a very good job of that. And then the flavor that we like is MariaDB. So that's what we deploy. Future looking, we want to do some testing with Aurora, which is Amazon's flavor of MySQL. And there's a serverless offering for that will actually kind of grow and shrink. So we're very keen to see if we can get Moodle running on that, because that solves a difficult problem in scalability, which is the database is the size the database is. Yeah. Other questions?
No,
Go. Yeah, yeah.
So do you have, for this one installation, that a physical presence, do you have one database, or do you guys move it throughout multiple databases?
Yeah, so we've designed it so the client can pick how they do that. So we deploy a stack. A stack would be a load balancer, at least one EC2 front end and one RDS back end. And then you could choose to deploy only one Moodle site to that stack. So let's say you wanted to do testing like a load, overload test condition sort of thing, then we'd put that on a separate, we'd deploy a separate new stack, which would take about 20 minutes. It's very quick. Yeah, I think about like, it used to take like 6-8 weeks to start from scratch, and it's 20 minutes now. But some clients would say, well, for our staging site, we really don't need separate infrastructure. We really just want to kick the tires, make sure that, check on a new version of the software and make sure that we don't have to go back and do some training or that the upgrade fails. So in that case, they'll deploy multiple Moodle sites to that same stack. And so like I have the stack that we use for like our staging active development projects, I probably have 10 or 20 sites going on a really small stack.
Questions?
Yeah.
Or do you have one installation at multiple stacks?
Currently, we do one database per stack rather than trying to attach. But the way that we deal with that is we try to right size, since those pieces are split out, we try to right size the database versus the EC2 instance so we can independently size those. So we don't necessarily have a need where we have a benefit of aggregating a bunch of front-end stacks to the back-end database. Does that make sense? Yeah. We would do multiple front ends in the case of like where we're trying to scale up or dynamically scale up and down. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
You are using Amazon, so that's already a locked-in situation for me. Have you tried OpenStack or open source systems doing the same work or lower price?
That is one of our future targets that we would like to look at is bare metal. I have worked with OpenStack in the past. I'm trying to think, there's a Red Hat solution that's similar to that. I'm forgetting the product name right now. But so I've done on-premise scalable solutions. The way that we've decomposed that, a lot of the intelligence would connect to bare metal. So for instance, once we deploy those instances, we're actually communicating with Ansible. So a lot of what's happening is actually intelligence in the control panel. And so, it would take a little bit of additional engineering work, but it could be tied into an on-premise system like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're automating the platform?
Yes. Yeah, so we have a lot of recipes that are very Moodle specific. So we try to start with I would call it a scripted install. So we start with the AMI base image, and then we layer everything on top of that through Ansible. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So one more question in the same direction. You now said that you could think about scaling up the front end.
Yes.
But I'm really interested just in the database. If you have an idea how it would be possible to scale up the database, to have really multiple database instances for the same information.
Yeah, so that's what Aurora does in the back behind the scenes, is it's actually a cluster of whatever data. Like we work mostly with MySQL, but you can also deploy Postgres-based RDS instances. Behind the scenes, it's actually doing those multi-read, multi-write kind of configurations of the database. So that's where I'm really, really interested in the Aurora serverless, because it's basically going to bill you kind of on a per transaction. So how many queries am I running to the database? And the idea is in the background, it's growing, shrinking, how many instances are connected to that database cluster. Yeah.
We have to write this up so you can always find the
Yes.
book.
Thanks, everyone. And I have cards, too, if anybody would rather connect later.
Yeah. All right, perfect. All right, can everybody hear me? Perfect. So I'm Yuri from CodeGrade. I'm one of the founders, and CodeGrade is basically a tool for programming education where you can increase the feedback to students and do that by automatically grading or manually grading. I studied computer science at the University of Amsterdam, and that's also where we developed this tool together with 3 other guys. And yeah, so we had a lot of issues as students. We never got any feedback. And when we became teaching assistants, we found out why. Because if you have to grade 50 assignments every week, like good luck giving feedback on all of those. So really we had some challenges in ICT education, and it was the following. Giving formative assignments to students in ICT education is very effective, but it's also very time consuming to grade. Because you want students to learn by doing, and that's why you need to give them assignments every week. But yeah, if you have 500 students in total, it's very hard to grade all of those. The second part is that feedback has to be timely. So if I go back to the example when I was a student, I got my feedback and my grade after 4 weeks. And then the course is almost over. So you don't really get anything out of it anymore. The third part is that feedback must be accessible and qualitative. And what I mean by that is that if your students have to click through 5 pages to access their feedback, they probably won't see it because they're lazy. And the quality of the feedback must be high, of course, as well. So to create a tool for that, that's also some challenges. And the first one is flexibility, because you don't want teachers to have to change their entire workflow to use a tool. So it should really simplify their workflow and not really completely change it. The second part is a tool should be scalable and secure, and that's mainly because, well, if you have 1,000 students handing in all at once, it should still work. And the last part is how can you give qualitative feedback, for example, with automated systems or with manual systems, and it should really improve the quality of that. So before getting to what we did to hopefully solve all of this, let's look at the Moodle workflow now of making, handing in, and receiving feedback on a coding assignment. So usually when you create a coding assignment, you use like your favorite editor, you write some code, and that's straightforward. And then you'll submit this. So in this case, with the Moodle, so you upload the file in there, and then the teacher can download it in some way. And then the third part is you have to wait for your feedback. And as I said before, that usually takes a very long time. And then the step 4 is basically viewing the feedback, and that's going to the assignment. Then when you scroll down in Moodle, you see a grade usually, and then a feedback comment, and usually something in the line of not everything works, you get a 6. So let's try and improve this. So the current workflow is not really optimized. And to improve that, we formulated 2 objectives. The first one is to decrease the time to feedback from weeks to minutes. And we do that using automation. And the second part is to increase the quality of feedback, and especially the manual feedback. And we'll look at this in our session tomorrow, because we only have 15 minutes, which is also in this room. We've created an automated grading system, which is called Autotest, which makes feedback immediate and continuous. And how that works is basically we integrate with Moodle using LTI. You basically click on an assignment, and then CodeGrade loads, and you can see your rubric here. And all of the automated grading works together with the rubric. So you select which category you want to fill in by the automated grading system. Another thing you can see is hand-in instructions, so you can give your students some instructions of which files to hand in. And then you can go ahead and upload, so you can either drag and drop some files in there, or you can use GitHub or GitLab to upload. So let's do that. And once you press submit, the automated grading system will automatically run, and you will get feedback within a minute. And you can see that here, so it started running, and then you can see some tests that are going to pass or going to fail. You can also see it fills in the rubric automatically. So if we close the rubric here, you can see some tests passed and some tests failed. And then when you click on a failed test, you can see why it failed. So in this case, it was only a simple input-output test where you can see what they expected was in the actual. If you go to difference, you can see, there's something wrong with this code at the moment. So what the student can do now is they can hopefully fix their code and re-upload infinitely many times before the deadline to improve. And you can also browse through the code. So let's quickly look at how this looks for the teacher. Because for the student, the workflow doesn't really change much. They still hand in through Moodle. But let's look how easy it is to set up this automated grading environment. Basically how it works, you go to the management page of your assignment. Within Moodle, you can go to the CodeGrade page automatically. And here you can set up your tests. And you can do that by basically first connecting it to a rubric category. So in that way, you also increase the feedback a little bit because you're forced to group your tests. And then you can create tests. So you can either create a simple I/O test. So that's just input and what I expect as output. But you can also do much more advanced tests because we provide an infrastructure where you can basically upload any grading scripts or unit tests you might have and just execute them, and they'll return a grade. And that you can do that with, for example, a capture points test in this case. So this way you can just execute your program you just uploaded and capture a grade from that. And in the backend, we use a scalable cloud infrastructure where every student gets his own Linux server. So in that way it's secure, scalable, and you can execute anything that runs on Linux. So also to give a little bit of a heads up of what we'll talk about tomorrow is how you can give students personalized feedback after the deadline. And basically your students will see that in the following way. They navigate to their assignment within Moodle. And then when they open it, you'll be able to see inline feedback comments in CodeGrade. And you can see that here. And the teachers can give these very efficiently, but you'll see that tomorrow. So let's quickly look at a more practical example, how we used CodeGrade at Erasmus University in Rotterdam to transform their education from a more formal exam to formative assignments. So basically, without CodeGrade, they only did a final exam at the end because they have 500 students per course. And now they can do formative assignments, so a weekly assignment where the students get immediate and continuous feedback from CodeGrade during the week of the assignment. And then a few days after the deadline, the teachers will give some personalized manual feedback in CodeGrade that they'll be able to see. And then finally, to wrap it up, we have some other features. So the first one is the powerful, flexible, automated grading environment where you can give immediate and continuous feedback to students. You can give inline feedback in the code. You can use rubrics, which integrate with the automated grading system, but also with manual grading system. And that way you can also create a hybrid, so not grading everything automatically, but also doing some manual grading. We have a plagiarism detection tool, which is designed for code. Integrate with Moodle via LTI or any other LMS. And in the spring, we'll release a powerful analytics dashboard for teachers and peer feedback for code. So I think that was it mostly. So I'll now take some questions. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where are your servers located? Because it's running in the on your infrastructure,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so we host all the CodeGrade servers for our clients, and they are located in the Netherlands and Ireland, all within the European Union to comply with the GDPR. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. I think that's it then. Thank you. No, that's automated grading. So like the surface itself.
Moment. Okay, wow.
So there's an afternoon break now. So.
In case you didn't know.
So we will be part of the files, will be the work class. Very nice. It will be us doing whatever log is was there, yeah, for the cloud. Okay. What about, no, that's possible. But you must also this the unit years ago. The media was coming. Okay, but still, the event like people
Al final sí funcionan juntas, ¿no?
Sí. Sí, sí que estás sonando.
Marcos, tío. Te gusta hacerte daño, ¿eh? Estàs bé o t'has quedat ja l'elo del tot?
Aquí tens una base.